Welcome back. So our second option for creating art with our spirit animal is similar to the tracing / lightbox method in that we are using an existing image and we are going to be manipulating that existing image for our own purposes. There are two ways that you can do this. Either you can take a page out of a mixed media pad, a Bristol paper pad, a watercolor pad, again, something that's heavier duty, preferably than just printer paper, because if we're applying art supplies to it, we don't want it to tear when we add water or when we get a little bit rough, smushing paint around with our fingers. So the first thing you can do is use a blank piece of paper like we did with the last one. And I'm going to tear out a piece of paper. You can keep it in your sketchbook. You don't need to rip it out. I just like to rip it out. It's easier for me to manipulate. And the other thing you can do is to take some paper that already has a background on it. What I do in my spare time is I get out watercolor paper and I just dump some water on it and dip different colors into the water because it's fun to watch the colors spread. And I also, when I'm done using my paint, when I've squeezed some paint out on my palette, which happens to be my desk, I will take that paint and I will just smear it on some paper that I have lying around, just so I'm not wasting the paint. That's kind of what I'm showing you here, because I have some paint out already from our first lesson. I just smear the paint around just to get it off of my palette and not waste it. And then after it dries, I have all these sheets of random backgrounds lying around that I can pull out and use as a basis for other projects. Sometimes I love starting with a blank page with a fresh white sheet, and sometimes it's kind of fun to have something to remix, essentially. Something that's already existing that you can remanipulate and reinvent and reuse. So I was just smearing the colors around a little bit more so I could use this as a background. I'm probably going to use this watercolor one just because it's fun. And again, this was just playing around with watercolors. I save these sheets because then I can use them at a later date. Sometimes I rip out corners that I can then paste onto other pieces, and then you have an infinite supply of creativity. So I'm going to show you both of these methods, the blank paper method and the background method, not because they're super different, but just so you can see. It makes a little bit of a difference, I feel, when you're starting with the blank page because you don't have that background. And so to realize that you will be creating your background around your character, around your spirit animal, and it could influence what media you use. So here we go. The first thing I'm going to do is take one of my printouts, this adorable little baby giraffe, and I'm going to cut it out. You can also rip it out. You don't have to cut it out. Considering how much I use my hands in my artwork, it's a little bit humorous to me that I felt compelled to pick up the scissors. So you've got your little cutout. It doesn't have to be exact. The next thing you're going to do is take some gloss medium. This I got at Walmart as well. I live in a small town. Walmart's pretty much the only store that we have here. So despite all the controversy about Walmart, I use Walmart a lot. So gloss medium. You can also get matte medium. Some people prefer matte medium because it doesn't have that glossy finish. I don't really care, so I'm using gloss medium. And this works essentially like a glue. It's clear. I'm just squeezing some out onto my desk here. You can see it squeezing it out. I'm going to use my finger. You could also use a brush. I'm going to apply. I'll have to decide where I'm going to put my giraffe on my paper. Maybe over here, over down here. Here, and then I could make the neck longer, I guess. So I'm going to smear some gel medium on my paper first. And I have a little bit of acrylic from where I was just adding to that other background later. So it's a little bit colored, which doesn't matter. So you can see I've smeared it on my paper. Then I'm going to put my little cutout on top of that smearing. I underestimated the size of my cutout, so I just have to add a little bit more. Got it there. And then I like to go ahead and smear more gel medium on top. Some people don't. Some people prefer to just go ahead and paint right on top. But I especially smear it around on the edges. And I like to smear it on top because I like to be able to press down and make sure there's no air bubbles, etc. So essentially I just glued my picture to the paper. And I'm going to cut off this little edge here. The next thing we're going to do is start layering media on top. And again, the focus is joy. What colors do you want to use? I don't care that a giraffe is normally, yellow and brown and kind of orangish. Maybe I want to create a pink giraffe. Maybe I want to create a yellow giraffe with green spots. Maybe I don't even want the spots, but maybe I'm feeling compelled to make a very loose, like scribbly interpretation of the giraffe. There are no rules. This is about you and your creative expression and feeling what is going to bring you joy as you work with this energy of your spirit animal. So I am going to play around with, I think I'm going to play with some more acrylics. I am also going to go ahead and, because there's going to be a background around here, add some background or add some pieces I can play with my background. All I'm doing is taking some tissue paper, some wrapping tissue paper, which again I got at Walmart, and I'm going to rip little pieces off. And I'm going to take some more of this gel medium and I'm just going to cover my entire background. And then I'm going to rip little pieces of this off and just randomly place them in my background. So here we go. Here we go. Whoop. All right, so I've covered my sheet and now I'm just ripping off little pieces. They're kind of coming off as rectangular and I don't really want that. And so I'm just sticking this down onto my paper and then with a little bit more gel medium on my finger, I'm rubbing back over it to make sure that it's adhered to the paper. And I need some more gloss medium. And this is just a really fun way to get some movement and get some patterns in the background that you can continue to play with. It's fine if you end up covering this all up. This is just a starting point. Nothing that we do here is permanent. And everything we do here is art and expression. So if you want to express yourself a different way, if you want to express the energy of your animal medicine in a different way, absolutely have at it. Absolutely. So here we go. And one more little piece. I'm gonna tear that off. So it's just to put some fun color, fun starting place. So that's what we've got. Literally just ripped off pieces of tissue paper, again from the gift wrapping section at Walmart, and used gloss medium to adhere them. So I'm going to flip the camera around so you can just watch me play around. This is your starting point. You can put any media on top. If you're going to use something like watercolor, I would suggest that you use the matte medium. 2, I would also suggest that you wait until the gloss medium dries. Because all of the media I'm working in is relatively opaque and wet, or responds very well to wet. For instance, these water-soluble oil pastels, the Portfolio series, they will smear and brush around almost like watercolors when you add water to them. So I'm very comfortable applying these to this piece. All right, I'm going to flip you around. All right, so I've got my first layer of my little piece. This is my little giraffe, and you can see It's a little bit sloppy. Partially, I knew that was going to happen because I didn't let the gloss medium or matte medium dry before adding additional wet media. So you can see, some of the tissue paper came off as I was pressing hard and dragging my oil pastels through. But this is a great starting place, and this can even be a finishing place because the goal is to get the energy of your animal, that animal medicine coming in. It's not about what it looks like and how perfect it is. But you can see starting with that printout and then layering my paint on top allows me to have that starting point. And for some people, that helps them loosen up and begin to receive the energy more fully because they're not so concerned about technique. They're not so concerned about, oh my God, that ear's too big, or I drew that eye lopsided. You have literally glued your picture to the paper and you're painting on top of it. So you already have that foundation. So what I ended up doing was starting with the light colors and just dabbing some paint on top. Then I dabbed with my fingers some of the brown copper metallic paint on top. Then I started smearing background colors around, and then you can see the lines where I dragged my oil pastel through to create some lines in the background, some movement. That was personal preference. It's not something that you have to do. And then I went back with one of my water-soluble oil pastels and just added kind of the eyelashes and a couple more lines. Now, you can add more to this. The cool thing about layering media and mixed media is that you can let this dry and then come back with another layer with different supplies. Maybe you want to play around with some transparent acrylics or some oil paint sticks or some water-soluble oil pastels. You can layer something new on top, just knowing that sometimes when you add new water-soluble media, it will reactivate the layers that you have. So just kind of go in there with a loose plan, but nothing that you're too committed to that's gonna make you cry if it doesn't end up working out. So I'm just going back now and adding a little bit more yellow to places in just smoothing out some of those oil pastel lines. But I am actually very satisfied with this as a beginning piece, and I'm going to save it, and I may end up adding layers to it later. The other cool thing about layering is as you work with energies, as you begin to receive, as you invite the animal medicine into your world and start to work with it more deeply, there will be more layers of energy and meaning that start to come out for you. So the cool thing about having something like this laying around is as the energy begins to deepen for you, you can always come back to this piece. Maybe there are words that stand out in the description, or maybe you're doing a meditation and your animal communicates something to you. Maybe you come back and add those words or add some more imagery to this piece. So we're not planning for the future. We are allowing new possibilities to emerge and new alchemy to be made. All right. So our next demonstration is using an existing background. You can see how I added that tissue paper and added color and paint on top. This is an existing piece that I showed you earlier. I am going to cut out another giraffe. Well, I'll show you the rip out method. Rip. Very loose, very loose. I'm just ripping this out. So I've ripped out my little giraffe, and then I'm just going to decide, I think I'm going to make this a landscape piece. So I'm just going to stick my giraffe on here, getting out my gloss gel medium again, and smearing it on. Here we go, here we go. All right, and then I'm just pushing him down on top of the gel medium I've smeared around, and then I'm putting more gel medium on my finger, and I'm just gonna spread it over the top of, especially over the edges, not so much all over the top as just pushing down the edges and making sure those are secure. So he doesn't come peeling off, or she. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl giraffe. All right, so I've got my giraffe on there, and now I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time, which is just intuitively apply my media. I am actually going to use these oil paint sticks. So these are oil paint, but they are so much fun to play with. They smear a little bit better than the water-soluble oil pastels, and they also resist water. So if you put water on top of them, it will bead a little bit, which can be a fun effect. Again, the goal is to play. So what supplies do you want to play with? Don't make yourself do something. If you want to explore a new medium and just see what kind of properties it has, that's completely fine. You know, nobody's being judged here. This is about you feeling and intuiting and playing joyfully, right? And for me, colors make me joyful. So that's why I've got so many colors. So I'm just going to flip you around and let you watch, and we will meet again in a few seconds. I'm back. All right, so this is my little giraffe. You can see what I did this time is I used these oil paint sticks. The brand is called Shiva. I just love them. They're so much fun. So I started out with the darks this time, and I used kind of a dark gold to color over some of the darker parts in the picture. Then I used a lighter color. I used kind of a metallic orange, and then I came in with a white, and then I went back to a little bit of the orange and gold, and even a little bit of pink in there. I took those same colors, and once I added them to my giraffe, I added a little bit to the background. You can see I scribbled some of the orange here, I scribbled some of the pink, and then I wanted to make that the printout edges less obvious. So I took this extreme glitter, blue extreme glitter paint, which again is from Walmart. I think it was about $2 for that whole bottle. And I just used my finger to outline my little guy and then kind of blend that into the background, which was already very pastel-y, so that glitter blue kind of allows it to blend. And then I smeared some over here and over here just to integrate the background and my subject more carefully. So he's kind of a cute little guy, huh? So how fun was that? We've already created 3 pieces of art with our spirit animal. And just like with the last piece, this is something, since I gave myself so much space around here, as I continue to work with the giraffe energy, be it in meditation, be it by carrying a little drawing or creating a little piece of art for myself that I keep in my wallet or stick in my car or in my office, keeping that giraffe energy around, it's likely that I'm going to start to have new revelations, that I'm going to start to deepen my knowledge and wisdom and start to embody more of these qualities that giraffe is bringing into my life right now. And keeping a piece like this around, after it dries, I can always come back with another medium, with pen, with Sharpie, with, I have these fun paint markers, these Posca paint markers. It's like $20 for a set like this on Amazon.com. Super affordable. I can always come back, and even just one day, you know, I could add a word one day and come back, and maybe the giraffe, I start to get messages about the giraffe and water and flow. So maybe I come back another day and I add in, you know, some watery lines, just some squiggly lines to represent symbolically water. Maybe I come in for the water element and I just smear some white or blue paint around, and that's my representation of water. There are no rules. This is unlimited possibility, and the awesome part, like I mentioned before about the mixed media and layering, is that there is no end. There is no goal. You are continuing your journey. You are continuing to deepen your journey, and it's really amazing if you allow yourself to come back and just add little things to a piece without knowing where it's going, without knowing what the end result is going to look like, and just allow yourself the freedom to add little elements and watch it build over time as you feel inspired to add those bits to it. So that is our lesson, using the gel medium and a printout as a basis on which to add your layers, because you already have that imagery down. You don't have to think about proportions and drawing and, oh God, I can't draw, I can't do this art. You can do it. It's so easy. And once you give yourself permission to express yourself in the way that's most joyful to you, you are going to have so much fun. So get to it. I want to see what you create.